Okay, so this is describe angle pair relationships, and we have a few definitions here. First one is complementary angles. So two angles that add up to 90 degrees, okay? And they have to add up to 90 degrees. Here we have two that are next to each other. One's 40, one's 50. If I add those together, I get 90. Same here. These ones are not next to each other, but we still have an angle that's 40 degrees, and we still have an angle that's 50 degrees. So we have complementary angles there. We also have supplementary angles, and supplementary angles are simply two angles that add up to 180 degrees. Okay? So again, I have two that are next to each other and two that are not next to each other, but if I add either of them together, the two sets, I get 180. Okay? Adjacent angles. So this is where you can see I have two angles that share a vertex and a side but have no common interior parts or points, excuse me. So these are adjacent and this is adjacent, but these are non-adjacent. Okay? Non-adjacent just means the opposite of adjacent. Okay? So these are not next to each other. They don't share a vertex. This vertex is here and this vertex is here. Same with these two. But these do share a vertex. And you can imagine, like here it says no common interior points. If I tried to put a point inside of this angle, and by inside I mean inside the sides of the angle, it would not be inside the sides of this angle. Okay? So that's what it means by no common interior points. Okay? So let's take a look at example number 1. It says identify a set of complementary, supplementary, and adjacent angles. Well, complementary angles. Let's start there. Complementary means what? Complementary means add up to 90 degrees. So I need to find two angles that add up to 90 degrees. I know that 45 and 45 equals 90 degrees. So I know that CAB and, angle, need to make sure I put angle there, angle HFG are complementary angles. Okay. I also need a set of supplementary. So supplementary, again, means adds up to 180 degrees. If I look here, it looks like I have a straight line here from D, A, E. If I follow that, it looks like a straight line. So let's count. 50 plus 45, well, that's 95. 95 plus 85, that's 180, right? But if I wrote down all three angles, DAC, CAB, and BAE, do I have supplementary angles? Because the definition says two angles. I need two angles that add up to 180 degrees. And I just named three. So I can't use those three. But what I can do is remember that for every two angles, CAB and BAE, I actually have a third angle, which is CAE. So I'm going to say angle DAC, which is my small one up here, my 50, and my large angle here, angle CAE. Because if I add these two angles together, I will get 180 degrees. All right? So let's look at some more examples. Of course, we always bring in algebra. So example number 2 says find x if angle I plus angle J equals 180 degrees. I have angle I and angle J. So just like the formula says, I should get 180 degrees, but I have this x here and I need to find what that value is. So all I should do, or what I can do, is I can take those numbers and plug them in instead of those angles. So angle I is 3x and angle J is 7x plus 30, right? And now I have something that looks a little more familiar. It's easy algebra. All I have to do is first combine my like terms. I have 3x and 7x. Well, that's 10x. Okay. How do I get x by itself? Well, I got to get rid of this first, right? Then positive 30. So I'm going to subtract 30 from both sides. I get 10x equals 180 minus 30 is 150. Divide by 10. We're just about there. If I divide this by 10, I get x equals 15 degrees. Okay. And I can always check my work by simply plugging that back in to these. So 15 times 3, that's 45. And 15 times 7, well 15 times 3 if that's 45, 15 times 6 would be double 45, which is 90. Plus 15 is 105. 105 plus 30 is 135. 135 plus 45 is 180. Okay? So we know that that's right. And finally, we have two more definitions. Linear pair. Two adjacent angles that are also supplementary. Okay? So now we have a definition that has to have both of them. One, the angles have to be adjacent, and two, they have to add up to 180. Okay? So there's only one possible solution for that, and that's where we have a straight line, but we have two angles. So 140 and 40, I get 180. We also have vertical angles. And vertical angles are opposite angles that are formed from two intersecting lines, segments, or rays. Okay? So you can see the drawing, just one example. I have a line here, I have a line here. I get four angles, 1, 2, 3, and 4, that are formed. And my vertical angles are the ones that are opposite each other. Okay? So angles 1 and angle 2, those are vertical angles. And angles 3 and angle 4 are vertical angles. But not angles 1 and 4. 1 and 4 are actually, if you think about it, if we cover up this piece, we get the other definition, right? We get a linear pair. Same with angles 3 and 2. We get a linear pair. But when we talk about opposite angles, we have vertical angles. Okay, so angles 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Those are my vertical angles. You are going to use those definitions for some of the problems, but based on the examples I gave you, you should have no problem with the homework. This has been Describe Angle Pair Relationships.